I mean, can you blame me? Hey, it's Romania Black, and can you blame me for wanting to move forward and see episode 27? I had to take a few days though, because if you've watched my reaction to episode 26, I sobbed like the whole time. Oh my god, I sobbed like the entire time. And it was such a good episode. Just so much to talk about in terms of Ray and his relationship with Hina and her horrible trauma trying to be a friend and trying to help this girl that's in her school and then suffering like the bullying because of it. And episodes like that just make you want to show this to a school and be like, look, this is advocating, don't bully people, like don't be that way. And Ray is trying to find a way to help Hina work through it, and him being there is good. Him being there as a support for her, that is a lot in itself. But Ray is bound and determined to find a way to help her to feel better. And I really applaud Ray for trying to find a solution in a way that she can become a better person out of this experience, or at least work through it, right? So I don't know if this episode is going to continue on that trajectory or if we're going to switch gears or not. It ended like him still wanting to find a way to help. So I don't know if that's going to be like a thread throughout the rest of the season or not, but I'm really, really excited to see what we end up getting by the season's end. If there is like a resolution or something that he finds, I'm just interested overall. But yeah, I couldn't wait. Could not wait. So I'll probably have more to talk about. I do want to talk real quick because I keep forgetting about the mangaka for the end cards. I keep forgetting. And last episode I was like, I'm not going to forget. And then I was like, bleh, a sobbing mess. So the end card for episode 26 was done by Tsunami Umino, Tsunami Umino, which is featured here. I really, really like, it's a very clean line art, very clean, showing like these jealous girls, jealous of Hina and her friend. But I really, really like this artwork. The mangaka is a shoujo artist. I didn't recognize any of the series that they had created previously, but they are a shoujo artist. I think it shows. It's like a very stereotypical shoujo look when I think of shoujo, but I'm going to try my best to not forget the end card for this episode. I'm going to do my best. But in any case, I'm super excited to dive into this episode. I hope you all are as well. Real quick, I want to give a shout out over to Patreon, to our philanthropy tier. Thank you so much for everybody on YouTube that supports, as well as those on Patreon, no matter what tier you are from. But those in the philanthropy tier, they get a shout out each week on my channel. So I want to give a special shout out to Alex Cornejo, to Anime Annie, to Be Happy, to Bryant Reed, as well as to Dana, to Danny Donmai, to Davarin, to Destiny Marie, to Damage3245, to Danger Zone, I always want to say it that way, as well as Eric, as Ichu, Ghostly Turnip, Fisho, El Freya, Linden, Matthew Palfinier, Murphew, as well as No Nickname, Nameless Monster, Nicholas, Sunspots, Trails, Shimoyama, and Translucent Men. Thank you all so much for your support. I really appreciate it. All of my love. So anyway, I'm ready to start this episode. I'm so curious now, following up. Hopefully this one is not going to make me sob. I didn't put a lot of makeup on because I was like, luckily I didn't last episode. I was like, oh, I didn't put any makeup on. I was like, maybe I should. And then by the end of it, I was like, it's like, good thing I didn't. So we're just going to follow suit with that. But anyway, we're going to get started. Almost forgot. The reason why I do this, I did have a couple people ask at the beginning of the season why I was taking the sound out of the videos. And the main reason is because the studio that creates this series has been known to strike copyright people. And I know that season 2 is really popular with this series. And I was like, I put in a lot of work editing these videos. The last thing I want to do is not be able to show them to you. So that's kind of the way, shape, form, and reason of it, but hopefully that's okay. I've had a lot of people tell me that they can sync up the videos, so I do feel sorry for the people that are just like on a bus or something and they're like, that's not really feasible, but hopefully y'all at least get to hear me talk and see the reactions, if anything, and then the discussions later. We don't even need the reactions for those. So we're going to start episode 27 of March Comes In Like a Lion, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. which would be season 2, 23, 24, 25, 26, episode 5 of season 2. Which I'm just going to keep saying, like, I know that we go up to 44, so. But what a great start to this season. I love this season so far. Devilesque, I'm pretty sure it was Devilesque. Them or no, it was someone else. I'll have to point them out in the discussion. But they were commenting about how the OPs start to develop more and more from being dark and gloomy with Ray to transitioning to him like overcoming hurdles and like we see here and him like jumping across the hurdles and doing all that. And I really like that. I like that theme of Ray, like that there are these obstacles in our way and we have to overcome them. I like that a lot. Huzzah. Chef Studio just outdoes them. I would love if they have secretly been in the wings working on this other season and they're just gonna like do kind of like a Mob Psycho and just release it once it's done and be like, here it is, and be like, ah, that'd be amazing. Who knows? Feelings. Oh, we are getting a continuation. Oh. Oh. Oh, he thinks it's him getting bullied. Of course, Hayashita's like, I would protect you from anything. Oh. It's not about me. Oh. Yeah, I'm not being bullied. He has been bullied in the past, but it's not happening right now. I'm just being ignored. Oh, sweetheart, don't think that. Oh. Oh, you make yourself sound so sad. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. I love that Hayashida is the opposite of that one teacher. Yeah, it was lucky she had someone like Hina. Very much so. We cried about that last week. Ooh. Yeah. And he's looking right at you, Ray. Don't keep it bottled up. Uh-huh. And she didn't do anything about it. Oh, the turns! The turns! Ah. She's that type of teacher. Oh, damn, yeah. Uh-huh. Hmm. How to handle this. Oh. I don't like all them boxes popping up at once. Wow, 89 million. 2 million. Right. Because they're all different circumstances. Oh. Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Hayashida, you okay? You malfunction in there? But you won't find an answer. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep. Yep. Uh-huh. It's just a mess. Oh my gosh, yeah, how complicated it is. So yeah, there is no clear-cut answer. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't stop looking. Right, that's the worst thing you can do. Yep. But we know what not to do. Ah. Ah. Mmm. Oh my gosh, and the fact that it's like sounds like over a radio. Oh. Oh my god. Oh my god. That sounds terrifying. Uh-huh. Then you have to respect that to an extent. Uh-huh. Yeah, because then that would just make it worse when she moves. Right. Oh, shit. Oh, felt like a Neon Genesis moment there. Hmm. It can taste. Oh, Hayashida, that's such good advice. That's such good advice. Uh-huh. Just saying stop. Hina is the type of person who can say that, actually. Hayashida, you gonna try to be matchmaker? You gonna try to be a matchmaker? You did say she was your lifesaver. Uh-huh. She's very emotional. She's complex. And a little vain. Oh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. He's gonna think that he likes her. Oh my god. Oh my god. Hayashida, don't ruin this. Ray's like, yeah, she's cute. I'm just asking for data purposes, of course, of course. Hayashida, you're poking the bear. Uh-huh. Oh, come on. Just to confirm. Oh, don't ruin it. Don't ruin this. Don't embarrass him. Oh. So blunt. Ah! Diving in the atmosphere of adolescence. Ah! Kiriyama's done. Hayashida's like, wait, what? Oh no, wait. Oh. Oh, what's this? And what is this? Uh-huh. What? What? Money from matches. Oh. Oh, honey. Oh my God, honey. Oh my God, that's a lot of pressure. That's so much pressure. Oh, I love seeing it like through his glasses lens almost. Ah! Oh! Oh my gosh. Oh no! Oh, honey! Oh my God. Oh, hi, Ashita, I feel for you! Oh my God. Tune in next time to Dragon Ball Z! Oh my God. Confession! Oh shit! Did he lose? Ooh. Ooh. Oh my God! Well, he does, kind of. No, not exactly. Oh my God. Oh. Oh, honey. No, no. He's planning all this. No. Oh my God. Ray. Honey. You can't be focusing on that. Oh. Best friendo. Anything. Yes. Smith and Asa. Good job, Nikaido. Oh my God. Oh. Honey, you can't do that. Oh my God. Oh, Ray, don't put yourself so much pressure. Oh my God. The storm. The storm. Oh. Sweetheart. Ah. Oh. Couldn't pass that up. No, absolutely not. She's like, I stocked up, bitch. Yes, groceries are so expensive. I don't blame you. Oh. 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 That's cute. Hopefully. Oh, that's so cute. Don't stress yourself. Yeah, don't overdo it. Hmm. Hmm. She's like, you're not taking care of yourself. She's like, I want you to take care of yourself. That's not very heavy. Oh, girl. She's like, I get back. Hurry and make something for you. Oh, no. No, you're not leaving. No, you're not fluffy enough. You're letting yourself go. Oh, you're going to help her. Nice. Good way of putting it. Oh, God, you all are going to start crying. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, girl, don't think that. Hmm. Oh. And she couldn't say anything. This is the confession, isn't it? Hmm. Hmm. Oh. Oh. Wow. Hmm. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah, she doesn't even know the answer. That's why she came to you. Right. Yeah. Hmm. Oh. Oh. Yeah, I was gonna say. Oh, and she was a baby at 19. Oh. Wow. Oh. Oh. Mm. Mm. Oh. Oh. And Ray's like, oh my God. Oh. She gonna say she was a coward. Mm-hmm. Damn. Mm. Yeah. You didn't want to ask for help. Yeah. Oh. Oh, and him saying this out loud. Yeah. And now Akari knows it as well. Oh, I love it. Love. Oh. 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 Love it. Yes, please. Pikachu, of course. Of course. Holding the cat's back. Don't you visit too much? No. No, 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 no. He's like, I'm joking. Hmm. Ha! Well, Ray takes a lot of things seriously. Oh. Oh. It is like when he was in cat form with Smith. Yeah. Oh. 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 Oh, shut up. Oh, I love it so much. What a great episode. Ah. Although Hayashida is now convinced that Ray has a crush on Hina, or might be taking it to the extreme. I love that Nikaido thinks that they've just become best friends and he's had this revelation. Him and Smith and Issa have no clue there's a girl involved. I hope he takes that little cat figurine to all the matches with him. So, the tournament that he's in right now, that he's been going to, these tournaments, they're not the newcomer battles, because I feel like Nikaido would have a much stronger reaction if he lost the newcomer battle, but he's just been entering random tournaments to try to get more money. On the off chance that she might get homeschooled. Oh my god, Ray. Really? It took me a second to realize what he was gathering up all that money for, and I was like, oh my god, Ray. Like, taking on responsibility here. Ugh. All right. All right. Sometimes you just never know if there's an extra scene or not. Oh my gosh. Well, I didn't stop to this episode, so that's a relief. Oh my gosh, before we dive into this episode, and before I forget, we're going to talk about the end card, which you can see right here. What a weird end card. It's Momo and Nikaido, like, in a motorcycle riding around together, which it's super cute, don't get me wrong. It's just such a weird, like, I guess Momo is with Nikaido because Hina with Nikaido wouldn't feel quite so well, and their hair and face shapes are very similar there. But the mangaka that did it is Bukabu Okawa. or B-Cub Okawa or B-Cube Okawa. I did not know that they were the creator of this, and I've never watched this, but I've seen this series. I'm looking at it online right now as I'm talking to you all, of Pop Team Epic. I didn't know it was called Pop Team Epic until just now, but I've seen these characters and I've seen them all throughout the internet and different crossovers with other anime. I've seen this style of animation and I've seen these characters so many times over the years, and I didn't know what they were, and I didn't know exactly what to even look up. I was like, well, that's a cool style, but I don't know what that is. So Pop Team Epic, B-Cube Okawa, who's 37, they're like a little bit older than me, is the mangaka for it, this 4-panel comics. So they debuted in 2008 and rose to popularity in 2014 with Pop Team Epic, which is probably, that's not that long ago, even though it's 10 years, which is seems crazy, but I've seen that style before. So interesting. Cool. Well, that is the mangaka for this panel here, so that's really cool. What a great episode. What I love about this episode is that it was mainly just Ray trying to figure out, okay, what can we do? And Ray, of course, tries to approach it like shogi, where there's a systematic A plus B equals C, or 1 plus 1 equals 2. If we just do this and this, that will stop the problem. And Hayashida, I'm super glad that Hayashida was who he went to, and Hayashida kind of offers him a little bit of advice first and foremost, saying, yeah, it's really cool that you want to help her, and it's really great that you want to stop, and you should always try to do something, but there will never be a clear-cut solution. And I feel like his conversation later with Akari kind of illustrates why there will never be a clear-cut solution. And the answer to that is because humans are infinitely complex, and we intersect into relationships and conversations and situations in ways that can't be detected by another person. So like Ray thinking, well, we know that Hina's affected by this group of bullies, so let's just find a solution. Well, in doing that, he didn't even acknowledge or realize that Akari was suffering through this too. So Ray, who has a very kind of, like, I don't want to say Ray gets tunnel vision, but he has a very limited scope, as we all do, of our perspectives in relations to other people's situations. So Ray is just trying to say, okay, well, what can I do to help? And Hayashida's like, well, that's a great question, and you should do something. But there is not a one-size-fits-all bullying solution that's going to make a difference. And I really liked the way that they talked about bullying and solving it in this episode, because I'm a victim of it too. I kind of feel like Ray a lot of times. I'm like, well, here's what you do to stop it. And I want to just have this justice solution. And Hayashida kind of reminds all of us that, yeah, this has been a problem since the dawning of time. Since, I always like to go back to Isayama for Attack on Titan, who says, as long as there are two people, there's always going to be a conflict. And you just have to find a way to work within that society and work within your means and be nice to people and hope that one good turn, begets another good turn. That's kind of like the way you have to go about it. And so I really like the idea that Hayashida's like, you can't sit there and do nothing. Being complicit is not good. You can't be complicit. You can't sit there and do nothing, but you cannot expect your actions to solve the problem. There's no way that your actions are going to solve another person's problems. You don't know what they're going through. You can't predict how they're going to react to it. He's like, all you can do is be there, be supportive, and try to help out the best way that you can. But along the way, he also comes to some other conclusions, which are maybe not wrong, but we'll talk about that in this. I liked that at first Hayashida thought that Ray was the one being bullied, and Hayashida was ready to come to the table. He was like, who I gotta kill? He was like, who I gotta run over with my Suburban? Let's go. Like, I really love Hayashida as a character because he's very much the anti that homeroom teacher that he talks about in this episode that we saw with Hina. And he's like, damn it. He's like, she's that kind of homeroom teacher. And I like that Hayashida for a second goes, well, I can understand her perspective, but she isn't helping the situation. Like, Hayashida can come from a teaching perspective, being like, from the teacher's side of things. And I really got onto that teacher last week. I was like, you didn't do anything. But Hayashida kind of comes from it from a really mature standpoint of being like, well, if that teacher had said something, you would have gotten the parents involved. And if you got the parents involved, it would have blown up into an even bigger thing. And then Hayashida says she should have done something, but he understands why she didn't bring it to attention. Hina and Rei want to kind of address the bullying from this one perspective, and Hayashida's like, well, that's really good, and that's the right thing to do, but what about all these other factors? And you've got to consider those too. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't do anything, but also you've got to consider what the counter of that's going to be. And is that going to cause more harm than good? Hayashida kind of points out, if Hina's friend doesn't want people involved, are you doing this because of your sense of justice, or are you truly thinking of what the friend wants and the victim wants and taking into account their perspective, right? Or are you trying to force your justice upon a situation that doesn't technically involve you, but now it does because you did that? So Hayashida is so mature in this episode with how he approaches the subject. And I admit, I kind of like thinking back on what he's saying now. I'm like, damn, no, you're right on some of these accounts. And I like that Rei is like, I'm not being bullied. In the first place, I'm not the one being bullied. And then he says, I'm just being ignored. I was like Rei! When Rei says he's just being ignored, I'm like, well, that's not much better. And Hayashida's like, well, Rei, what are you doing? You're not selling yourself very good. And he says, I don't have friends, or more like, I'm not in anyone's field of vision. And that was really sad. Like, I wanted Hayashida to kind of talk about that for a second, because I'm like, you're in the Shogi Science Club, and I like that he says, I don't have friends, I'm not in anyone's field of vision. Meanwhile, Nikaido is like burning up, like 3 blocks down. Nikaido's like in flames. He's like, we're best friends, what are you talking about? I'm like, Rei, do you not sense the best friend and the friendship right in front of you? What are you doing? Oh my God. When he said that, I was like, Rei, you do have friends. You just don't, and you think you're like under the radar. You are not. Like, what are you doing? He's like, well, never mind me. I'm a professional at this. Rei's like, he's like, I've been eating lunch by myself for 11 years. I can handle being alone. I'm worried about Hina because she's not that type of person. And he's like, I don't want her to suffer. It's like just Rei being selfless. But I like that Hayashida is like, dude, what? Fine. Let's talk about Hina, since you don't want to get any more into that. So Hayashida starts asking questions about Hina and asking about the situation, and realizes, so now Hayashida knows about Rei getting help from the family. So I'm glad that Hayashida knows that I have a feeling Hayashida is going to try to at least meet Hina and her sisters to like figure out like what's going on and talk to them. But I'm glad that Hayashida knows that Rei has a support network, which is really important. And so he's like, it's a good thing that Hina spoke up and that this girl has someone she can look back to, because like we said last week, it could have ended up a lot worse. But he's like, if you make too big of a scene about it and drag it out now, he's like, Hayashida basically says, okay, what's happened to that girl is over. We don't want to make a big deal about it because it could make her experience at her new school even worse. But I understand you're concerned about Hina, so let's see what we can do about that. But addressing the bullying of that is, maybe we have to go about it in a very delicate way, right? He's like, it's important Hina was able to talk to her family about that. And I like that Hayashida kind of says, the worst thing you can do is keep all these emotions bottled up, Rei. Which I feel like Rei is getting better and better at talking about his emotions and letting all of it out. He's getting better at it. But I instantly thought about his home life. And Rei kind of like perks his head up at that, because the worst thing you can do is bottle up and act like nothing's wrong. Well, what does Kyoko and her brother and her family do? They bottle everything up and they don't talk about anything. And then it just boils over and Kyoko does these things. So maybe that's Rei kind of being like, oh, to not talk to their family or their teacher. It's like that. He's like, but when it came to her friend Shio, she told her homeroom teacher about it and she didn't do anything. So Rei kind of doesn't dwell anymore about the other family, but I instantly thought of Kyoko and her family and how they don't talk about anything and nothing gets resolved because of it. And so again, Hayashida's like, okay, she's that type of homeroom teacher. And he says she got stuck with one of those poor kids. She says she was probably desperate when she asked for advice. And he's like, I can get the teacher's perspective, but that's no time to be running away. Which Hayashida being like, I understood why the teacher was trying to save her skin because she knew how it could get out of hand. But he's like, she should have said something to Hina or helped out her in some way, shape, or form. And so Ray's like, well, I wanted to ask, what do you think the school could do? How could we handle this? And that's when Hayashida is such a great role model for Ray. He's like, there are millions of websites. There's more websites about bullying than solutions. And even the 2 million solutions, none of them are universally applicable. None of them work for every scenario 100% of the time. So it's just humans are too complex. And he's like, well, look at all this. He's like, there's stuff from both sides. He's like, it's just, there are thousands of sites like this. You won't find an answer. There's a distinct answer for every person, but there's not an answer that works for everyone. Everyone gets an answer, but there's not a universal solution. And I like that he talks about, both sides of the situation. You have people that want apologies, people that are trying to defend their kids, people trying to defend their dignity, people trying to atone, people trying to run away. He's like, everybody's out here trying to get a different outcome from the situation. And the configurations of the positions and personalities are all different. So he's like, that's why there's no perfect answer, because you can't just create a solution for something this complex. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do anything. You should be silent and complicit, but you have to handle everything on a case-by-case basis, and that's what's complicated about it, because there is no, we as humans want that distinct solution and that direct, oh, yep, here's how it should be, and now we're good and we can move on. But with situations like this, that's not possible. And it makes it hard in a school setting where there are distinct rules to not be able to be specific about what the solution is. And it is hard. Yeah, but I like that Hayashida goes over all of this with Ray. It's sweet. And he's like, if you think the answer is there's no answer, so I'll do nothing, then you're wrong. He's like, we know what not to do. And we can't stir up everyone with cries of, we have to solve this, while ignoring the victim's feelings and moving ahead too fast. I like the idea of him saying moving ahead too fast. If you don't take time to think about what the victim thinks about all of this, is the victim okay with moving forward? Do they want revenge, or are you just doing it for them? So I feel like Hayashida maybe came from a background where this sort of thing happened. So he has experience, either as a teacher or as the person being bullied. So he kind of knows, and I don't think he was a bullier, but I'm sure he has experience as a teacher and as someone that maybe was bullied himself, that he kind of understands all the different facets of the argument. And he's like, we don't want to make her experience at her new school where she can start fresh, have to drag her back into situations that she's trying to get away from. If the victim doesn't want to make a big deal of it or get more people involved, then we need to respect that. He's like, we have to respect what the victim wants. And that's, the main thing about it, So, which I think is really good that he brings that up, right? So yeah, he's like, we don't want her to have a bad experience in her new home. I love that one shot of her at the desk where she's cracking apart and there's everyone else on the horizon looking out at her. I instantly thought of Neon Genesis. I thought of everybody standing at the top of the world going, congratulations. If you don't know what that scene is, watch the entire series of Neon Genesis. You'll get there. But that instantly made me think of it. I just love Shaft's visuals of her crumbling there. So I was expecting them to kind of go back over this part, and they didn't. So maybe that's something that we'll touch on at a later time. But the important thing is to ask Hina what kind of solution she's hoping for. So maybe the rest of the season, Ray will at some point ask her that. But I'm like, okay, that's a really good strategy. You're trying to help Hina and her get over this prospect of her being being bullied. What do you want her to get out of it? So I like Hayashida's you need to consider her feelings, consider her a part of this process. Don't leave her out because she's the one you're trying to help. And I kept thinking this episode that that's where it was going, but we had to deal with Akari instead. He's like, it's okay if this takes time. Just be sure to listen patiently to all of her feelings on the matter. And Ray is so dedicated. He's so serious. He's writing everything down, taking notes. Hayashida's like, don't leave her out of the conversation. She's the one you're trying to help. Make sure she's involved. And he's like, got it. He's scribbling down his notes. And so then he's like, but what actually is surprisingly effective is being able to say stop when the bully does something right then and there. That all rides on whether she's the type of person who can say that or not. That's honestly some of the best advice ever in this situation. One thing that Chiho did that I was like, that only made it worse, was that she was complicit in the bullying and she just thought it would go away on its own, and it didn't. Oftentimes, if you are very direct and blunt, people will get the memo and stop, usually. If you're just like, stop it, and then that'll go from there. If you don't, what a bully is looking for, or somebody that's harassing you, is they want to get a rise out of you, and they want you to respond to it. But if you are immediately like, no, I'm not responding, stop, then they usually will, right? Now, not always, but I know that I can understand kind of what he's talking about, from the sense that I've had people on social media try to like send private messages and stuff, and oftentimes they try to be nice, and there is a weirdness to parasocial relationships where if you're just being nice and just saying like, hey, cool, good job, and like, I like this series, just making a recommendation, that's cool. But I have had conversations where people start to get too personal, and like in a sexual way or in a creepy way, and I'm like, whoa, not comfortable with this. And the best thing to do is just stop it right there and be like, I'm not comfortable with this, you need to stop, or you need to change the subject or go away. And usually it works. Usually those people do stop the conversation, but you have to be blunt, and you expect people to get social cues. A lot of people don't. So, I've had that experience where I've had somebody like ask a really too personal question or get sexual or something like that, and I've had to be like, that's not appropriate, and we're not talking about that. And not just me on my channel, but even like just people in like that I've met before in real life, and then they message, and it's just like kind of just weird, and I'm like, stop. And they will. You just have to be very blunt and direct. If you show them immediately that that's not the way it's going to go, then usually they'll back off. So, good advice, Hayashida. But yeah, and then he's like, so can you tell me about Hina, this girl that you're trying to help out here? And I'm actually really impressed, because the first thing Ray says is she's energetic and has a loud voice, which is opposite of him. And then he's like, okay, sure, what else? And he's like, well, she laughs a lot, she gets angry or dejected easily. And he's like, noticing that about her, and he's like, okay, you could say she's complex. I mean, Ray recognizing that human beings are complex. She can be vain, and for someone who's so cheerful, she doesn't have much confidence in herself. Like, Ray's actually pretty observational about all this. And he's like, but she's strong at heart, very strong. And Hayashida's like, you know a lot about this girl. You've been watching her more closely than just some random girl. You know a lot about her personality. And that's when Hayashida's like, wait, does Ray have a crush on her? And does he realize it? He's like, is this a flag? Is this a sign that he likes her? So then he's like, oh, well, you don't say. I was like, Hayashida, don't make this weird. Don't make Ray embarrassed, because you'll throw him away from her. Don't do that. And so I like that Hayashida's like, okay, I'm not going to say anything about it. Cool. It's fine. It's cool. And he's like, oh, so, what? You just, is she cute? And then Ray's like, oh, yeah, she's cute. And Hayashida's like, oh, well, I'm just asking for data purposes. He's like, why is she cute? In what way is she cute? And Ray, like, gives a very specific answer. He's like, well, she has these big eyes, and she's got these small arms and legs and this long glossy hair. Like, he describes her, and Hayashida's like, oh, well, this is just to confirm, just in case. I love it. He's like, Kiriyama, is she important to you? I like that he finds a way to not say, do you have a crush on her? Is she important to you? And Ray's like, very. Like, he answers immediately. He does not give anything. He's like, yes, she's very important to me. And Hayashida's like, oh my God. And then Ray he doubles down, and he's like, I want to do anything I can for her. And Hayashida's like, you don't realize that you possibly have a crush on her. Now, is it a crush, or him just like fiercely wanting to protect her because she's like a sibling? If she's in trouble, I want to do anything that I can. And of course, Hayashida's like, because you could argue that up until the lifesaver line, you could argue that he probably would do the same for Kyoko because she's his sister. He's like, I'm going to protect her and help her out the best that I can. the only thing is Kyoko is pushing against Rei so hard. He doesn't really have, room for that in his life right now. And he's focusing on Hina. And that's when he says that she's my lifesaver. And he just he gets so into it. And Hayashida's like, wait, what? Lifesaver? And he's like, I have an obligation to pay her back. And that's my duty as a human being. And Hayashida's like, wait, hold on. How serious you getting into this? Wait a minute. And that's when we see home tutoring and the costs of that. And we see these shogi tournaments. He's like, oh no, you're fine. And he's like, this is a new side of you, Rei. And then he figures up how much things are going to cost. And he says 280,000 yen per month for 9 months is how much home tutoring was going to cost. And he's like, what is this? And so Rei was figuring up how much he could make at a tournament to help offset the cost of the tutoring sessions. And he's like, now wait a minute. He's like, are these all costs? He's like, well, since I'm making a proposal, I didn't have realistic figures. So it would just be irresponsible lip service. I have to repay my debts. And Rei is assuming, under the assumption, worst case scenario, that Hina's going to leave the school and need a private tutor and not be able to go back. And he's like, if that happens, he wants to pay her back by paying for those services because he doesn't think the family has money to do that. And I'm like, oh my God, Rei. And Hayashida's like, now hold on, don't freak her out with these numbers because she may not even be thinking about home tutoring, right? She may not even be thinking about all of this stuff, and you might put some dangerous ideas in her head or make her feel weird. So don't go overboard, Rei. Luckily he doesn't yet, but I'm like, oh no, I'm hoping Hayashida convinces him to not do that, but Rei's like, I'm never going to lose a match again, and I'm like, you can't set yourself up with that kind of pressure. First of all. You cannot set yourself up with the kind of pressure of being like, oh, nothing's ever going to go wrong, because that's not a good practice, Rei. You're setting yourself up for failure if you're like, oh, I'm never going to lose a match again. I'm like, well, you probably are, and he does. But it's like, Rei, instead just focus on getting better and helping her, but you can't set these false expectations that you don't think are not going to be 100% attainable. I do like that the little vignette when he's talking about Rei being a little bit off kind of looks like Hayashida's glasses, the lens of it. And he's like, what does he say there? He's like, the kid is just off about something. That's what the teacher's heart was yelling out. He's like, I need to go check. I have to put my life as a teacher on the line and do something before Kuriyama takes those documents to her house and makes a speech. And he's like, Rei Kiriyama, 5th Dan, 18 years old, with calculator in hand, will intervene in the life of that girl to whom he owes a debt. And he's like, what am I going to do? Would Hayashida, his homeroom teacher from last year, be able to stop him from running amok? Tune in next time! So, hopefully at some point, Rei does talk with Hayashida, and Hayashida's like, let's take it down a notch. Let's not worry about the money so much. I'm also hoping that he talks to Hina in the next episode and she says that she's not going to do home tutoring, or she tells him she's not going to leave the school or whatever. I hope that he has that conversation and then realizes that it's fine. She's not going to need all these extra things he's gathering money for because he's got enough to worry about. He's got to pay his own bills first, right? But damn, seeing Rei getting so mad at losing, seeing Rei come out and hitting the wall and getting angry, and Issa and Smith and Nikaido are like, Rei never shows outward emotion like this. What is happening? What is this? And maybe it is love. Maybe it is Rei doesn't realize that he cares about Hina in this way before. And I know some people that don't ship them will be saying that, oh, well, Rei is viewing her like a sister or as a friend. And that's fine. I'm totally on board if you view it platonically. That's totally cool. I can see that. But I don't even think Rei realizes that he might have a crush on her, but he really does feel, I think the fact that he feels this indebted to her is a sign that there's some emotion and feeling there for her, and he may not even be recognizing what it is. And we'll talk about him and Akari later. But him feeling so strongly for wanting to help her. And I love Issa's outfit, by the way. Issa's outfit is so good. I kind of want to wear that. If I'm being honest, I have some red pants like that. I need a shirt like that. And then Nikaido is like, Does he have the motivation? Finally, he's come around to the idea of burning together as friends into the surging flames of passion. Nikaido believes, he's like, welcome to the world of bosom buddies. Nikaido believes that Rei is going to become as into shogi as he is because their friendship is so important, and he wants to like be rivals and do all this without knowing that Rei's doing this all for a girl. Which is going to be interesting to see if they all figure it out. I'm so curious. He's like, one more win and I would have gone to the semifinals where the pay gets doubled. Uh-huh. He's like, I'm an idiot. I do hope that Rei calms down a little bit. I like the idea of him practicing with Nikaido and training. That's great. And I want him to become a better shogi player. And I love the passion, but I don't want him to get reckless to the point where he's losing a lot and potentially putting his rank in jeopardy because he's so stressed out about, I have to win. Because before it was like, oh, I have to win to break away from my family. Oh, I have to win to pay the rent. Now I have to win to help Hina out. It's like, I want Rei to do stuff in shogi for his own benefit, for him, and not doing it for other people. Like, I feel like he should be playing shogi for himself and not others. But he's like, I've got to be able to prepare a place for her to go. I'm like, Rei, he's like trying to be her sole provider. And I'm like, y'all are in high school and middle school. You ain't married. This is different. And then he's like, Nikaido, are you here? Like, he just like gathers him like a soldier. And Nikaido's like, what is it, best friend? And he's like, I need to practice. Would you play me? And Nikaido's like, I've been waiting for this my entire life. He's like, of course, my best friend. Like, he's so excited. And I love Issa and Smith just being like, good for you, man. You finally got that friendship you've wanted. Rei's grown up so much, and none of them realize it's for the sake of a woman. Oh my God. I just love it. They're like, I'm happy for you, Nikaido. Good job. Little Smith's like, little good job. Freaking adorable. Love it. And then he's like, wherever there's a board and pieces, that's our battlefield, Kiriyama. Nikaido's just excited, and Rei is just like trudging through the wind and the rain, being like 10 matches, 30-minute time limit per move. Don't fall behind Nikaido. Nikaido's like, he's like, I can't lose at the Kishonen tournament. And he's like, money, debt, money, shogi, money. Like, Kiriyama is just focused on winning for the sake of money and everything. Meanwhile, Nikaido is over here being like, best friends, best friends, best friends, best friends, shogi, best friends. Kiriyama, those words are music to my ears. You know what? If it helps Nikaido feel better, let him believe that's what it's for. But again, going back to the whole bullying thing, this, again, scene alone just shows how these two people view this same scene through very, very, very different scopes. And it's the same scene, same conversation. They're both present to understand the conversation, but inside their minds are two totally different workings. And that just helps to understand the complexity of these situations and why it's so hard to deal with them. Because everybody has a different motivation. And Rei's like, reality is tough, but that doesn't mean I can give up. I love Rei being passionate, and I don't want him to give up, and I don't want him to be passive. I just want to make sure he doesn't get reckless, and he kind of calms down and figures out his focus, right? Because if he just walks in recklessly, it's not going to yield any good results, right? But I do love them, like, working into the night. He's like, I've always been working towards something for someone other than myself. But right now it's Hina. I love it. I love them working in the moonlight. It's great. So then the next day he helps out Akari getting the groceries. And girl, as someone that understands, I feel like one of the big hurdles of adulthood is when you live on your own and you have to buy groceries, you suddenly realize how much they cost and you're like, oh. Now, granted, it's a lot easier to live alone, as Rei has demonstrated for us. When you live alone, you just buy for yourself. You can kind of skimp and save. And I honestly, I feel for people that care for others or that have households to feed. Because when you're just living alone, it's not that expensive. You can figure out what you yourself want, and you can kind of budget for yourself. But like in Akari's case, she's not only feeding herself, but 2 sisters and her grandfather, and 3 meals a day, every day of the week. So, and she's like, we don't have the money to go buy out food. So when she was talking about like all the specials she was getting on groceries, I was like, girl, I envy you. I want those. I want a whole box of potatoes for $2. Please. That sounds amazing. So I definitely understand her point of like how excited she gets for getting specials and things, right? And Akari has kind of taken on the role of caregiver, and she talks about that she was 19 when her mom died, and it seems like her young Momo and her are maybe like 18 years apart, which is, you think that's a lot, but my my mom has a younger sister that's 15 years younger than her, so it does happen. Momo sounds like an oops baby. But I feel like I assume they're all full siblings. Again, the father is not mentioned. We don't get to mention the dad. He's not present in any of the flashbacks. So make that with what you will. But, and Akari and Hina look like the mom. Momo does not. So I'm assuming Momo looks like the dad's side. But it's not surprising to me that there's so much age difference between them. That happens a lot. But I do feel like I feel bad for Akari in a sense, because she was thrust into this role of being a caregiver when her mom died, and it almost feels like Akari never really had a moment to be like, she was right out of high school when that happened. So it feels like she's never had the opportunity to be like a young adult for herself. She's always had to take care of other people. And I feel for Akari because that's really sad. You know, she sacrificed her adulthood to being a mom for two sisters that aren't even her own kids. And she doesn't have like a husband or anything, or a partner or whatever. So I do kind of feel bad for her that she's kind of taken on this role. And she doesn't seem to know any other lifestyle other than this. So, and she seems to get enjoy. One thing I do like about the series, though, is that Akari never complains about the role that she's taken. Akari seems to enjoy it. And there are people like there that are natural caretakers. There are people out there that like to be needed. They want to be needed. And Akari seems to be one of them. So one thing that I like about the show is it doesn't push this agenda that, oh, Akari is mad because she didn't get to have her own life. She had to be a mom at a young age for people that weren't her own kids. No, Akari seems to like taking care of others. But she also notes that because she's taken up this role as caregiver, it's frustrating to her when sometimes she doesn't have the answers. And she hasn't had enough experience in life to have those answers. So that would be kind of frustrating. And I kind of feel for her in those moments. Also, I'm glad that Hina looks like she's having fun at the amusement park. And again, this show is so genius because she looks like she's having a great time at the amusement park. But then Akari says that she's been having a rough time. A lot of times when people are depressed or have a rough time, you don't always see it. Strangers don't always see it. You can be having fun outside with your friends, and then you get home and it all kind of comes back to you, right? So I like this show is really real in the fact of how it portrays emotions like that. So Akari asks to take one of the boxes from Ray, and Ray's like, oh no, I'm fine. And she's like, seems like you might be overdoing it. And Ray makes the comment that he's a guy. So Ray has really gotten into this, like, I'm a young man, I'm growing up, I got to take on some responsibility, which is good, right? But it's interesting seeing it coming from Ray, where he's like, I'm a guy, I can handle this. And Akari's like, hey, don't forget to acknowledge, just like Shimada and the others, you have feelings. It's okay. Don't brush those away. But she makes the note, she's like, he's not getting fluffy at all. Akari likes her guests to be fat and sassy, being healthy. That's why Nikaido gets along so great with all of them. She's like, oh, you're enjoying everything. But Ray, she worries, isn't eating. He's not eating like he should. How much does 52 kilograms weigh? Kilograms to pounds. I'm from the US, so we don't do metric. He says he's 52 kilograms. Oh my God, he's 114 pounds. What? I'm like 5'8" and like 150 pounds. So on a good day. So, oof, he's scrawny. He is skinny. And, at that point, she's kind of mad because she's like, you're not taking proper care of yourself. And she's like, and I thought we were past this, right? And she's like, so if you want to stay and help, you're going to stay and help. And she's like, I'm going to make sure that you stay here and you eat with us because you need to eat something. And that's when we have the conversation where she kind of opens up. The whole time, We talk about the bathroom. I know everybody in the bathroom scene in season 1 where he kept the water going and it was overflowing into the little the drains on either side of the tub, and everybody was like, he's just letting that water go. That's kind of how I feel in this one, because she has the drain open and she just keeps pouring the water. I'm like, your water bill is going to be expensive, girl. But I'm sure she'll blame her tears at Ray's words on the onions, right? So as she's sitting there washing out the kale or the lettuce or whatever, the spinach, that's when she opens up to Ray that she feels bad. She's like, my grandpa made this big speech and said all the things he needed to say to Hina to make her feel better. And I sat there and I couldn't think of a single thing to say. And I didn't make the matters better. And she's like, I'm supposed to be like her mom. I'm supposed to be her sister. I'm supposed to be this older presence that, you know, helps her and is able to protect her. And she's like, and I couldn't do it. She's like, I hate that. And I love that she opens up. I love that Ray is a part of their family and she's able to open up to him. And I love that Ray comes back to her and says, hey, no, it's okay. I like that Ray is like, you did nothing wrong. He's like, there's nothing wrong with what you were doing. He's like, you did the best that you could. I really like that. I think that's a really good thing. But I do feel for Akari a lot. Now, he does tell her that she's a savior to him as well, which I thought was really, really sweet. I loved that. And I think it's important that Akari knows how he feels about them, about the sisters, that he feels that he was alone all this time and her and Hina and Momo helped him to get out of that funk. Now, if I'm being quite honest, I don't feel like Akari and Ray have a shipping bond to me. I feel like what it felt like when he opened up to her and was like, no, you're my savior too, you and your sister and your sisters. He's like, and you all taking me in. What it felt like to me was Ray felt like a brother-in-law talking to Akari about how much they mean to him, but I did not get the same like romantic vibes from Akari and Ray's conversation as I have with his interactions with Hina the last few episodes. And that's just my opinion. If you all got romantic vibes from this scene, I don't blame you at all. I'm not here to diss anybody's ships. I can multi-ship. I can cross over across the dock. Don't worry. But that's just my thought. To me, it felt like when I was watching that scene, I could see like 10 years into the future, Ray and Akari having these conversations as adults, and they kind of respect each other on this mutual level of being like, hey, let's have a conversation about this. And she's like, yeah, I know. Ray and Akari seem very similar in ways where they're both kind of caretakers and they like taking care of people. And they feel bad when they aren't able to do that. And Hina feels different from Ray. It's so interesting. Hina, it's like you have a Venn diagram. Momo's off here. Momo's her special self over here. But you have Hina over here, and then you have Akari over here, and you kind of have Ray in the middle, where Ray he connects with Akari and he connects with Hina as well on different levels. But I feel like Ray and Hina are those two type of like pseudo siblings that get each other and they want to help others, and they can have these conversations that are pretty mature. But the vibe I get with Hina and Ray is a lot more romantic, or it has the potential to be so. But yeah, and of course, again, we talked about the whole bullying angle, and I like that Hina, you know, from Akari and the grandfather's perspective, they're like, of course we want to protect her more than anything else. She's our family. And that kind of just shows to Ray what Hayashida was talking about. He's like, that's why it's so hard to implement a policy. The phrase that he said, he's like, it's not that there's right and wrong. It's just there's right and there's also not wrong. So it's like, it very much shows the complexity of the situation and how you can't have a universal policy, because even the bullier's family are going to feel that need to protect their own because it's their kid, it's their family. Why wouldn't you? So I feel like I like this conversation between them where she's like, why did I ask her the why question instead of offering to just support her and know what to say? And then she says, ever since our mom died, and we see like Akari as a 19-year-old, she looks so young there. I've been the surrogate mom for Hina and Momo. And Momo was like a year old. She was a baby. And so it's just been a couple years, right? So Akari looks like she's maybe 23, 24 now. Yeah. She's like, I didn't know anything at 19. So I tried as hard as I could to like have answers. She's like, think about the people who are around you and be kind. And I love Akari saying, she's like, I didn't even know exactly what I was saying. I was just saying what I thought a mom should say to a kid when they were thinking about things. And Ray kind of goes, but you did the right thing. Ray's like, it's not that you shouldn't have been. And that's kind of the whole point of the bullying advice. Ray's like, that's the whole point. You didn't just sit there and not do anything. You did something. And you encouraged Hina to be kind. And now we're seeing that pay off. And he's like, that's a good thing. Don't sell yourself short because of that. And I'm like, it's so sweet. Yeah. But, I mean, Akari got into the situation when she was a year older than Ray. So I think Ray can appreciate her opening up and saying, like, hey, when I was your age, I had no clue what I was doing. And I'm kind of in the same boat. So again, Ray and Akari can kind of understand each other because they both had to grow up really quickly at a young age when they didn't know what they were doing. And now Ray and Akari are having this conversation where he's like, but you did good and I did good. We're doing the best that we can with what we have available to us, and we're trying our best. And it's very sweet. It really is. And she's like, I thought I don't care about justice. I just wanted her to run away. And that was just Akari trying to protect her. Trying to keep her safe. Even though Hina was hanging in there for the sake of her friend. And then Ray's like, but you've got it wrong. He's like, no one wants a family member to go through a painful experience. But the one watching over Hina the most has been you. And I love that Ray's opening up and telling people this story. He's like, I've been alone since I was a kid, and the thought of someone extending a helping hand was terrifying. He's like, the thought of someone, been so used to being by himself. He's like, I didn't want to burden anybody, and I didn't want, he's like, if somebody reaches out their hand, it's like, are they going to betray me? Are they going to hurt me? Am I going to end up even more alone than I was before? And he's like, but Hina taught me that even though she was scared, she stood by her convictions and showed me that there are such people in the world that are genuine and want to help others, even at the cost of their own selves. And he's like, she's my savior, and so are you. You raised Hina to be a girl with so much courage, so you're my savior as well. And that gets Akari to cry. And I like that it's just this unspoken moment. It's just silence between them, and she's like, you want to make curry? And he's like, yep. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. We could talk forever about this scene. I like that Grandpa like almost got ready to go home though, where he's like, get out of here, kid. Keep being here. And Ray's like, okay, I'm going. And he's like, get back in here. Like, what are you doing? And then Hina gives him the little charm. And it does look like the cat version of him. Like when Smith grabbed him into the room and he was like a cat. It is like him. And she's like, it might be childish, but it looked like you. And he's like, no, I'm touched. And she's like, oh. Because, yeah, nobody's ever gave Ray anything. And he's like, nobody's ever given me just a present. And so, I mean, Coda got him. But here's the thing. The present that Coda got him were all to help enhance him to playing shogi and had an ulterior motive behind it. Here, Hina was just being nice. She's like, this looked like you, so I want to give it to you to thank you. I'm like, yes, please. Yes, please. So, yeah, the shipper and me was so happy with this episode. But I like that the confession was honestly Akari's. I like that that's the confession that we get. I was like, you think it's going to be about shipping, but then it's something entirely different. So yeah, I'm so curious to see what we get from the next couple episodes. I am so curious, but regardless, I hope you all enjoyed this reaction and discussion. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts down below, but I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more March Comes In Like a Lion. Bye!